Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Ana Valdez from the Latinx Education Collaborative. Super excited to be here with you today as we do a new segment called Ask a Storyteller. Kansas City is hopping this week with activities at the Unidos US, and we are super excited to have several team members participating and gaining great knowledge and insight and soaking up everything that we can to learn how to grow as an organization and as a Latino community. Today, we have with us Eduardo Gonzalez, fresh out of the bayou in New Orleans, and he's one of our fellows from our storytelling fellowship, Expresión. So without further ado, I would like to bring on stage with me Eduardo Gonzalez.
Hi, good evening. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good day, right? How are you doing, Eduardo?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking.
Great.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us today in this conversation of Ask a Storyteller. I also know that you happen to be an educator, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that and about the Expresión Fellowship, what it meant to you, why did you get involved, and any recommendations that you have about others checking us out for next spring. But first off, before we go any further, I'd like to know and share with the audience here a little bit about who you are and what makes you tick. Why education? And you're in the Big Easy, so tell us a little bit about that experience of either getting there or being raised there or what have you. So I'll turn that over to you.
Well, thank you, Doc, for asking. Actually, I was born here in New Orleans, but because of my heritage, I was raised in Mexico. I was raised in the south of Mexico. The name of the state is actually Tabasco, like the hot sauce.
Mm-hmm.
It is common knowledge between the people locals that the chili from the hot sauce actually comes from my home state. So yeah, it was. I lived there for 22 years before I came back to New Orleans.
Okay.
And I've been in education for a while now, almost over 10 years now.
Okay.
And why I'm in education? Because I believe, in building community, going from classroom to community, and also to building bridges. I'm the type of leader and educator that builds bridges. And I love to make the connection between what is heritage and innovation. And this is why I'm in education.
Fantastic. So tell us what is the best thing about New Orleans? I know a lot of us have probably been to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and that's like, just a short period of time. But what's one of the recommendations that you would have to give us about New Orleans?
Well, I would like to say that New Orleans is very diverse culturally, right? It's so diverse culturally. It has so many different layers to it. And I've still learned till this day. I've been here for a while, and I've been learning every single time more and more and more. And the more you dig in, is the more that you learn. As a matter of fact, if you see in the back of my room, you can see a bunch of like headpieces and masks that my wife has this humongous hobby that has become a side hustle of building costuming for Mardi Gras. And that's just one layer of it, right? Like people have certain impressions about the city, about Mardi Gras, and about the culture, the food. But like once you live here and you learn more and more and more, you learn about these deep connections between Native, African, and also Hispanic culture. And it's just a beautiful place to be at.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell us a little bit about education. You said you've been an educator for over 10 years. Can you share with us what subject you teach, where you teach, and what was your origin story? Like, how did you know or when did you know that you wanted to become a teacher?
So my area of expertise has been working with multilingual students. Most of the kids who are immigrant students. I've been doing that. That's my area of expertise. I've been doing that my whole career, from directing departments all the way to teaching inside the classroom. And here in New Orleans, it's a rapid population that is increasing. As a matter of fact, it's the only population of students that has increased throughout the years and continues to increase. So right now it's a very important time for actually have proper representation of those students inside the buildings and outside of the buildings, and policy making and also in community building. Right now, I'm working towards a group of people to actually build, another space for our students, where they can actually get involved and participate more, and get an education that also stands for them and by them. So this is where I'm in education right now. My latest project was that I was teaching a setting of a multicultural and multilinguistical class, but it was targeted for Latino students specifically. So I was teaching a Latino history class, but with a multi-language setting where we were going through history and we were also developing language at the same time.
Cool. Cool. And what did the students think about that approach?
Oh, they loved it. They learned
Oh,
so much. They were so engaged. They were so engaged, especially they were very surprised of how much impact they have and had representation throughout history, right? A
mm-hmm.
lot of our kiddos see themselves and they only see themselves in their present image, but they don't know the history background behind that image, right? And
Right.
like when I remember in our first sections, um, we were going through the stories of different Mesoamerican cultures,
Mm-hmm.
and we went from the Olmecs to the Mayans to the Mexicas, and we were going. And one of my students mentions like, "This is really interesting stuff, and I really love it." And we had a couple students that were actually Quiche and Mayan, and
Oh,
they were super engaged in the class, and they wanted to learn more and more and more. And they were looking at my students like, "You guys actually know this?" And it's like, "Yeah, this is like this was my everyday before, but it's really cool that I get to see it in a classroom now represented." So it's very important work.
yeah, that's awesome. That is totally awesome. Yeah, being able to turn the light on for a young person is the biggest thrill. And I get, I was an educator for a period of time, and I'm at the age that I don't need to be in the classroom anymore. And so that was the best part. That's what kept me coming back year after year, is seeing that spark, seeing those eyes light up, seeing that energy and feeling it, when they're understanding and appreciating and identifying all of those things, which kind of leads me into our topic. Excuse me. Storytelling, our fellowship in Expression. Tell us a little bit about that experience that you went through with Expression. Tell us a little bit about Expression. So, for those in the audience that um, may not know about it, can learn a little bit more about it, and what were your takeaways from it?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. That's a great question. So, I was recommended through a friend of mine, Dr. Garcia, to join the fellowship, uh,
Hmm.
and it really reminded me of the time that I had the privilege of being the director of emerging bilingual programs at a school that unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. It was the name of the school was Living School, and when I was there, we did a really good job of actually doing purposeful work of actually acknowledging our heritage and cultural backgrounds of each entity and person inside the building. And during the fellowship, that was one of the things that actually marked me at the beginning, was that the first topic is actually realizing is like, yes, we are here present, sharing space and sharing opportunity. And even if it was at a digital realm of space, but it's also very important that, like, the work we do is actually to
Hmm.
empower and recognize the people that have been here before us, right?
Yep.
Uh, through our stories directly. So that was very important as well. The ability of like people just coming together, even though we're like across the country and very different, and like, but everybody has a powerful story behind us, or behind them, and
Hmm.
just the ability of opening up and sharing their story, and like how emotional and heavy, sentimentalmente. I'm sorry, I go back to Spanish all the time.
That's okay.
Emotionally heavy the stories were, and people opening to these stories.
Hmm.
There were like a lot of I mean, we were joking around during my fellowship that there were a lot of sections that felt like almost like therapy, but it was reality, just like us coming as a group and just having the feeling of being seen by other people that understood what we were saying, right? Like understood your struggles, and but not only understood your struggles, but understood your greatness and your resilience as striving for something better or something bigger than you, you know?
Mhm. No, absolutely. And I think it does not matter whether you're a 5-year-old kiddo in the kindergarten classroom or whether you're, a retiree, that being seen, being recognized, being heard, and feeling that, I
Mhm.
think is, if I were to give advice to Maslow when he was doing his hierarchy, if he were doing it today, I think that's something that would be absolutely on his hierarchy triangle,
Yeah.
because it it's more than a lot of that is about self actualization, but I think that um, I don't know if that has changed or whether we're recognizing it more. I
Mhm.
think part of self actualization comes along with the reflection of self from others, right? So we're saying something, we're sharing something, and it could be something deep and at our core, and when others can not necessarily just validate but kind of reflect like they've had that experience as well, I think that helps us grow as the human that's gone through that experience, and being able to share that with others, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what you're talking about, therapy, it is kind of, but it's in a unique way that it's a very safe space and you can share it and grow simultaneously.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody was very willing to share their stories and just open up and just let it go. At first, there were people in the group that, like myself, were like, hesitant and like, oh, this is weird. But at the end, everybody realized, like, oh my God, this is so empowering. It's like a group of people. And as you said, there were people that like are just starting their careers, and people like me that's like midway there, and all of the people that have been doing it for a while that just felt so empowered about it. So definitely, it was
Exactly.
a great opportunity.
Yeah, and so and you just finished the class that we had this spring, right?
Yes, I will participate in the spring.
Mhm. Yeah. And so, Expression is, a great opportunity. We will open up in the spring of 2026 the new cohort of fellows. And so, if you haven't seen the information, keep an eye open for that. And if you would like some more information, would love to hear that from anyone, you can reach out to anyone on the team and just ask for more information, because as you were sharing, just the experience from that was extremely beneficial. What else about that? What was your biggest like takeaway, if there is a bigger than average takeaway for you for that program?
Well, it made me, what I really appreciate is that it made me like the self-reflection part of it.
Hmm.
It was very important to me because in one of the sections that I had one-on-one with one of the mentors, with Luis
Hmm.
Ortega,
Hmm.
um, we had a one-on-one section, and he was reviewing my storytelling, the theme that I was drafting. And he's like, look, Eduardo, like you have this really good, beautiful way of making people like be pressed, like feel like they're in their story, in that story, right?
Hmm.
However, when you narrate these stories, you always narrate it in a perspective of an experience that you had serving someone else. And I don't see you, Eduardo, in this story. So like I want to learn about who is Eduardo, and like how you have gotten to this point. So that made me really, open up a lot and like think about that perspective of like, I've always come of a point of view of like servicing community and building community and serving children specifically,
Hmm.
teenagers and or children. So it made me reflect a lot, yeah, like it takes, in order to like love a community and love someone else, it also takes a lot of self-love as well.
Hmm.
So it's just like the building and the understanding and the reflecting of that was very empowering, very, very empowering.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Isn't that strange? Like just that little bit of change, because you were already doing all the work. You were already writing in such a beautiful way, it sounds like, from
Mhm.
what Luis was sharing with you. But it's just that tweak of, it's okay to kind of share your story, and it's okay to kind of be you physically be present when you're sharing those stories.
Mhm.
But I think it's almost as if it's almost countercultural, like, don't I always got the message of don't be too much, right?
Mm,
When you're sharing a lot of things that you're doing, or, don't be boastful. Don't, have some humility. And I always thought, well, why does it feel like you know,
guilty
like,
about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. The guilt. And I think it's just culturally that we're just constantly, I'm going to use the word berated, but, reminded
Mm,
that, it's not always about us. It's not always about, what we've done, or how we're helping people. But in a way, it kind of is, if you're really trying to tell the story of change and increasing how people receive the help and grow from what you're sharing with them.
mm.
And so it kind of puts that mentality of, don't be too boastful, don't, guilt kind of left to the side.
Yeah, it just reminds me. You mentioned this. Reminds me of some data that I was looking recently at, like how, specifically in my background, Mexico is like one of the most happiest places to live. Right, one of the
Mhm.
most happiest countries to live at, and it's very interesting to look into this data because like, and also is one of the countries where people work the most hours throughout a week.
Huh,
People
okay.
are working between 50 to 60 hours. However, they are very extremely happy. And the justification of that is like that same culture of like not always being the center of everything, but also like engaging, and also the times of like your meals are important to have with, like, you never eat alone, you eating like with family or friends,
Mhm.
you're going by community, you're interacting with people. And you can see it like even when you're walking down the streets, and specifically like in Mexico City, which is like the second uh, most visited place in Mexico after
Mhm.
Cancun. uh, you can see all around like people just walking up, like there's so much color, there's so much things, so much food, so much people, and just people engaging with each other, and like even strangers playing, the kids playing around, and just like having moments like they were a family and community, right? Um, yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. And also the other justification that the study was saying is like something about the chiles, and how chiles have this chemical that makes you happy. So which is very interesting as well. But I really enjoyed reading the romanticize about it, like how we have this sense of like coming together all the time, and like there's this camaraderie of being together.
Yeah, it's all about community. It goes back to, ancient times where people needed to be in community to survive. You
Mhm.
couldn't, if you were a cave person, you could not survive on your own for very long, because to take down a large animal, you needed more than one person. And so that's the same idea. I mean, and that's one of the things that we talk about here at LEC is all about community. We talk about creating the home for educators. We talk about the importance of, recognizing the humanity of the individuals, not only those that walk through our door here, but also the young people that we interact with, or the teachers that we go and visit in the classroom, and the individuals like yourself that you're not in Kansas City, but you're a part of our community through this program. And so, bringing this program and expressing it or expanding it beyond our city borders, beyond our state lines, we're able to build a community, and the benefit that we have through technology to find and reach and connect with individuals like yourself. I didn't have that benefit when I was first, in the classroom, 1,000 years ago is what I always tell my students. But at the same time, I feel like I'm not going to let this opportunity to pass. I'm going to take advantage of what I can do, and that's what I would encourage people to begin to think about. How do you leverage this medium right now that we're in, of technology, that we can build community and engage in a way that is authentic, right? So not just, oh, we're having this interview. Hi, Eduardo, how are you? Tell me about this. Da, da, da. Okay, bye. It's really kind of tell me your story. Phenomenal that people out in our wider community, they probably didn't know that there were that many Latinos in New Orleans, or that there was a history of engagement of the Latino community, because, early on, the navigators were a lot of the Spaniards that crossed the ocean, that settled in that region and learned how to navigate not only the Gulf, but all the way up through Mississippi, through the Mississippi River, and, the trade and whatnot that took place and transpired and built communities all up and down a variety of people. And like you said, the input of, communities and the diversity that exists, I think is just, like these things, just phenomenal to know more.
Absolutely. If you have not have come, please come. Aquí tienen su casa.
There you go. He's got a room ready for you folks. So Mardi Gras in February, I think, this year. Just knock on Eduardo's door.
It's going to be a cold one, so come unwrapped. That's for sure.
Okay, so we're close to the end of our time, because we could talk forever, and I love New Orleans and have been there multiple times, for Mardi Gras and for other reasons. But tell us a little bit, advice-wise now, to our young teachers, for those first year, second year, third year teachers, which is part of the program that I run, the Futuros program, that we work with college students, encourage them to pursue their education degrees, and then help them get into the classroom. And then once you're in the classroom, we just don't leave you alone there. As obvious as community, we want to make sure that you are successful. And so tell us a little bit, what advice would you have for younger teachers? And when I say younger, I mean not in necessarily age, but experience in the classroom.
Yeah, I would just say, like, as long as you always go back and understanding the humanity of your students, I think you will be a very successful teacher. A lot of times, especially in the public school setting, we are very much pressured because of like standardized testing and like all the things that go behind that. However, I feel like we should not, and we allow ourselves to lose the humanity and understanding the perspective of each of our students and their historical background as well. And that work not only is very important, but it's also very difficult to do as well. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is because sometimes you're going to hear or understand, when you go into deeply understanding your students and knowing where they come from, sometimes you're going to encounter some stuff that is like, oh my God, it's like heartbreaking, right? And it's very tough to hear or very tough to understand. And however, that's going to make you, as long as you have that vision of like, hey, I'm doing this because of us kids, and I understand, like, I have the vision of like the generational of like what I do today is going to impact myself and my family in the future in a better way. And I can explain what I mean by that. But yeah, if you just have like an open heart to understand the humanity behind your kids, you'll be a successful teacher wherever you go. And what I meant by that is, like, every time I present during orientation to my new parents or in a group setting, I tell my families, look, you can call me selfish or whatever you want, but how I see things is that in 10, 15, 20 years from now, when I'm ready to retire and go into the Hall of Fame of teaching, I want to have my Dr. Garcia that is going to be taking care of my liver. I want to have my accountant Gutierrez on this side. I want to have my notary Gonzalez, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this community is going to be built so that way I don't have to worry about anything else. And you guys can handle all the problems and take care of me and my family, and whatever is in that situation, you guys can be prepared to improve the next generation ahead of you. So.
Bravo. And so what do parents say when you tell them that?
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
They love it. Usually there's a lot of laughs, especially with the Hall of Fame joke. But
that's a great dream. Hey, that's an aspiration you got to pin up there. Write it somewhere.
Yeah, you got to pin up there. That's right. So yeah, I mean, they love it. They're all for it, and they, like, the parents' response is always very positive. It's always very positive. Like, just this morning, a random parent just called me and it's like, Mr. Maestro, ¿cómo está? I was like, yeah, I'm doing good. I thought it was something going on. I was like, no, I just want to say good morning. And I was like, man, thank you for calling. That's so cool. appreciate your call. I was like, I'm just checking on you, maestro. I was like, appreciate that. And a student that is in college now that I taught 3 years ago, the same thing. Just a random text. I was like, hey, maestro, just thinking about you. How's that going? So, I think we are setting up those seeds for those beautiful flowers to be, grow. So.
Amen. And how beautiful to end that with that, because your advice was on point. Recognize the humanity, and in the end, that heart will come back to you in random texts and phone calls and engagement. So heart, home, humanity, and I always add health is the message here, because sometimes as you're recognizing the humanity and they're sharing with you their humanity, that can be heartbreaking, because there's sometimes we can't do anything about it. So take care of yourself, right? Keep the healthy part of yourself that you need. But in the end, the payoff, the riches are just in Hall of Fame level of riches. So I may not win a Super Bowl, even though I live in Kansas City. I know what winning looks like, right? Same in New Orleans.
Hasn't been it hasn't been like that for a little while, but yeah.
Soon, somewhere we'll have to spread the riches.
We'll
Sprinkle some of that magic on y'all. But thank you so much, Eduardo. It's been fantastic getting to meet you, getting to know you, getting to hear all about you as I break into song. But, it's individuals like yourself that are fighting the good fight every single day, caring for our kiddos and showing them that if they see it, they can be it. And what a great experience that you've had, and what a great opportunity for us to hear about that experience. So thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, there you go. Thank you. You froze there just for a second. That's the bad side of technology, right? But thank you so much. And when do you all start go back to the classroom?
Some of them have been starting last week. Some will start this week. I'm not starting until next week, so looking forward to it.
Okay, fantastic. Same here. We've had a lot of activity going on in the different school districts. So I get you. So all you teachers out there, know that we are thinking about you. We are holding you in our thoughts. Maybe some of you need some prayers, doing that as well. And just wishing everyone a fantastic, fabulous school year this year. Good luck. God bless. And make sure that you make the best of it this school year. So thank you.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you.